Welcome to March Malcontent 2026. We're going to start off with Dark Samus against King K. Rool. First fight of the year, of the preseason. March Malcontent is the preseason to April Anger, which is the yearly Amiibo tournament series we always do. Looks like we're going to be on Big Battlefield. If you just came from the main season from last year, actually great conversion from Dark Samus right there, then one thing you should know is that we do have a more lax rule set for the preseason, also the postseason. So this is actually one of the stages that will not be showing up during the tournament. For, I guess I want to call them obvious reasons. The stage is just a little bit too large for one-on-one gameplay. It's actually pretty great for teams, especially if you've got teams of 3 or 4 on each team. It is effectively just Battlefield, but scaled up for more combatants on it. Now, the Amiibo, at least in this match, seem to be pretty aggressive, so we're not going to be having too many of the problems we'd normally have. If these were live players do tend to exploit certain extremities a lot more. I mean, already you can see the blast zones are wider on all sides, which does actually affect when some characters can and cannot kill. And for Big Battlefield, it's actually pretty noticeable size difference. And real-life players don't like losing a match because, well, yeah, K. Rool just decided to do a whole bunch of jumps there, getting hit out of some of them, but he keeps landing enough of them. You can only imagine it keeps encouraging him to go for more. K. Rool's off stage. He actually didn't get the vertical boost from up air there. There have been measures put in place in the game to prevent momentum shifting during knockback, and it took a little bit to get all of those measures right. Basically, some characters will have, usually it's actually a falling down air, and if you do that out of hit stun, then you'd get a really weird momentum shift, and it wasn't particularly consistent. And in some patches, it even depended on the move you used. K. Rool with a great combo there, hitting the crown and a whole bunch of forward airs. Dark Samus off stage, gets 2 stray hits to the propeller, which I guess is damage. But K. Rool's really looking for a kill here, finds one with up air, near the center platform. Down smash, not quite enough to break Dark Samus' shield. He got a really quick turnaround on that forward air there. In Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, turning around only takes 1 frame, and there are techniques to run and then turn around instantly. However, that time King K. Rool got it out incredibly quickly. I was actually expecting a backwards aerial, especially because it possibly could have led to a better combo. I'm still, though, impressed with his execution on that. King K. Rool's off stage, and Dark Samus lets him recover without issue. Up smash this time instead of up tilt. I'm not sure if it came out faster or if Dark Samus was a little bit slower on the mash. Forward air, just barely enough knockback to kill King K. Rool. Something that Dark Samus needed. Well, now Dark Samus needed to have not died to stay in the match. And for our second match, we're going to be having Steve against Pit. Total of 7 characters between their names. Oh, nope, actually it's 8. I counted wrong. Looks like we're going to be at Pokemon Stadium. So, full disclosure, I actually recorded most of this episode once already, and then the recording failed. Thankfully, it was the first episode of the season, so it was really easy to go back and redo everything. However, they were on a different stage, and the unlevel playing field actually was a real problem for... Well, it was actually kind of a problem for both characters, to be honest. Steve placing a block down, not able to land on it, but it actually, I want to say, saved him from receiving the knockback, but then Pit was still there, able to hit him again. Pit barely living, plenty of jumps to make it back on stage. Pit has one of the best recoveries in the game. It's one of those statements that's always hard to just flat out say, because how can you truly say what makes something the best anything in the game? But when it comes to sheer distance, most characters cannot even compete with Pit. And that's not including the fact he also has 2 double jumps. So I guess you could call it a triple jump, but we think of it more in terms of mid-air jumps versus grounded jumps. Because Pit has wings, it would be kind of disappointing if he only got the 1 double jump. Steve off stage, forward air is definitely going to kill him. Steve gets stone tools out. Interestingly enough, he didn't get iron. Normally when you build tools, it uses your highest rarity resource available. Actually, maybe he did. It's a little bit hard to tell. Iron and stone are both gray. Maybe I'm just wrong on that. Oh, Steve actually got hit by his own minecart. He must have jumped away from it because he didn't get kidnapped inside of it. So for the 1 frame when he was getting hit, he was technically airborne instead of... Pit going for the double spike. The second one doesn't connect. Third spike does. That's going to take Steve's stock. Steve's going to try to paraglide to something, but there's just nothing he can do. Steve elects to chase Steve using the Mercy invincibility, and then summons his crafting table and then begins crafting. Effectively running out of all of his invincibility and putting him right next to Pit. Not a great solution, to be quite honest. Pit makes it back on stage with side B. Normally, the aerial version isn't too great to use because it's very laggy. It can actually kill Pit if you use it off stage. That's how laggy it is. You use the move and you fall for it. Pit, I want to say he got stuck on that ledge. He just seemed to forget that he needed to play. Steve must have had something planned, but he didn't get it out. Gets Pit with an anvil. Steve has every resource except, I guess, basic dirt. Reflected Anvil is able to kill Steve while he was standing on it. And here we've got Terry against Banjo and Kazooie. I was unsure what to call the character because they are 2 distinct entities, but they are 1 character slot. In case you didn't know, Banjo is the bear and Kazooie is the bird. Now, something I haven't brought up yet is that for this first round, everyone who wins this first match makes it into the tournament. The math is actually very similar to last year, except that we have 2 extra entrants. You may or may not have seen at the end of the season last year and of all previous years, I'll actually tease the new amiibos that are going to be showing up for the new year, assuming I get them in time. We are at the point where we have 96 amiibo for this tournament. The math actually works out really great. We don't need a single buy round. And the 2 new amiibo are Pyra and Mithra. I finally got them at a non-exorbitant price. It does, however, mean that we're probably at the point where we're not going to be receiving any new amiibo into the tournament series. I know it's sad and all, but we're 4 shy of 100, which is, going to be honest, quite a lot. I do love how amazing this game is, by the way, that it can have that many characters in it. I guess slightly fewer because there are a couple of repeat print amiibos, but still almost 100 characters in anything. You normally don't see that without all the characters being body swapped with each other usually. But yes, it does mean that I don't think I have anything prepared for the post-season spoiler interlude this year. I guess it had to happen at some point. Also, Banjo's just kind of going off stage and grabbing ledge. I'm kind of having a hard time commentating because he's just tactically running away. And since the amiibo all have auto heal, there really isn't much progress being made. Terry gets a great tech there, though. Terry not dying, makes it back to stage. only gets 2 jabs on Banjo. That's when I think he should have gone for the power dunk. Usually you should actually be going for the power dunk. The only times I would recommend considering not going for jab jab power dunk is whenever you're at the side of a ledge, the power dunk will put you off stage, because you do jump up in the air and then slam down at a diagonal angle. And against some characters more than others, you don't want to be in that position as Terry. But on the flip side, if the opponent's at a high percent, the jab jab power dunk is, well, power dunk itself is a kill move. It even has command input, so even if you don't get that, you can still get a strong move. It's stronger than your third jab, so that's why you always see people go for it, because it's almost a strictly better option. There are niche times when you would want jab 3 to come out, but again, the only one I can think of is you're on a ledge and you don't want to be falling off of it. Banjo shielding everything, still at 0%, finally gets hit by something. Grabs Terry, he probably would have grabbed the ledge, yeah, based off of how far away he grabbed it that time. Banjo successfully recovers. Down throw goes to a back air. I never would have thought those moves would have comboed into each other. Terry again with the second jab, and while he had Go Meter, you can actually combo that into Buster Wolf. It's a little bit harder as a human player because you kind of have to be planning it out. Terry able to beat Banjo with his recovery. And he didn't use a side special to get back to the stage, so he didn't grab the ledge. At the range he was at, he could actually use Power Dunk to recover as well. You don't get infinite offstage special moves as Terry. I'm not entirely sure what the rules are, simply because for every character it always changes on whether they need to hit the ground or if they need to get hit to refresh their special move usage that doesn't put them into free fall. So I don't know what the rule for Terry is, but I know that he gets 1. And at the speed he falls, you usually wouldn't want to use a second one anyway. This round is going to go to Banjo. And that brings us to Zelda against Sonic. Looks like they're going to be on small battlefield for this one. A perfectly fine legal stage. It is effectively Pokemon Stadium, but slightly shorter and the platforms are slightly different. It's interesting how removing the top platform from the battlefield stage made for a better, purely competitive experience. I will say it's probably a little cramped for any casual play. If you've got 3 or 4 players on the stage, or I don't know what happens if you have 8. There are a couple stages that get larger specifically to accommodate that many players. And smallest battlefield may or may not be one of them. A great spike from Zelda. I'm not entirely sure just because it's really hard to get 7 people to play this game and then agree to play on a small battlefield, to be quite honest, but that's just how it goes. Also, it's really hard to get 8 controllers to connect. Because first of all, you do need 8 controllers, and if anybody's using a pair of double Joy-Cons, each Joy-Con counts as its own singular controller. Which creates problems because if everyone's using double Joy-Cons, you can only have 4 players. And I play a lot of video games, at least compared to the average Joe, but I still only have 4 controllers and 4 Pro controllers and 4 pairs of Joy-Cons. And it hardly ever comes up. Usually what ends up happening is when we do get the 8th person, or I think you actually have to start splitting them up at 7, but you just take the Joy-Cons and some people just have to play with a half Joy-Con. People who are playing 8-player Smash Bros. Usually aren't too miffed that they don't have their optimal control setup. Although I'll tell you what, once I was playing on a friend's setup, he had one of those bootleg controllers. You know the type, the ones everyone clowns on online, which kind of for a good reason. since it had problems. For starters, the controller itself had an extra, I don't know how many, but like 5 extra frames of input lag. I thought it was his TV setup at first until someone dropped out and I was able to take their controller, and then suddenly I got significantly better at the game. Because my reaction times effectively got buffed in the middle of the night. Evening. I don't know how late it was. Zelda air dodging really close to the ground. Sonic was too far away to punish it that time, but usually that's something I'd advise against just because it's so laggy. Some characters do get comboed extremely hard and have stats that make it really hard to escape out of combos. And also usually at the same time they have... Usually your combo escape move is your neutral air. It's the generic, comes out quick, hits everywhere around you, so it's the easiest move to get out of combos with, especially if you're not entirely sure which way you're going to be facing. Often forward air and back airs can work as well. However, if you're facing the wrong way, some characters do have a large disparity between the speed of those moves. Then you have to factor in hitbox size, and if anyone's trying to juggle you instead, then you're going to want a down air to escape. You really can't use too many up airs to escape combos. Although, actually, now they say some characters do have long, lingering hitboxes that can combo into stuff. So it's more risky, however, it is much more rewarding as well. And here we have Pac-Man against Inkling. This is a little bit of a fun matchup, specifically because this is the yellow coloration of Inkling, and Pac-Man is also yellow. In fact, all of his skin colors are yellow. The only thing that really changes is his boots and gloves, and 1 or 2 of his colorations might have his skin tone ever so slightly change. But if you're not looking for it, then they all just look yellow. And I might even be wrong at that. And I bring this up because Inkling's ink is yellow, so whenever she paints Pac-Man, he just turns a slightly different yellow. Meanwhile, Inkling is a character who has a lot of varied colorations, kind of all modeled after potential Splatoon characters. Smash Ultimate did come out when Splatoon 2 was the newest Splatoon. So Inkling is a little more based off of Splatoon 1 because that one had been out for longer, and 2 was still the new kid on the block, so to speak. So it had been less established at that point. Also, I'm pretty sure the Splatoon series has just grown in popularity ever since. But it is interesting to see how you get a character like Inkling who has the most varied skin... Well, I guess people call them alts, but they're just the different colorations of the characters you can pick. Because they're effectively entirely different characters. I mean, they're still the same character in the game, but enough work went into them to make them all unique. And meanwhile, Pac-Man is 8 yellow circles. You can actually see his stock icon for every different color is the yellow Pac-Man circle with the bar under it. And the bar is what changes colors between them, so you can actually tell them apart. It's a shame, too, because there's actually been other games where Pac-Man has changed color. I'm thinking of one specifically that you'll normally see in arcades. It's a 4-player Pac-Man... I guess I just call it a battle. You go around, get power pellets. When you get big, you can eat the other players. Last one standing lives. And it has a blue Pac-Man, a purple Pac-Man, and I think a red Pac-Man. And we just don't get those in this game. Other characters who have very similar skin colorations include Cloud and Sephiroth, who effectively just wear black coats for all of their colorations, and slightly different black coats when applicable. Sephiroth has a couple of colorations where he takes off his shirt, which is more unique. But it really just looks like he took off the black coat. When you put the different colorations up next to each other, it gets really hard to actually tell who's supposed to be who. Grab clash there, you don't see that too often. Mostly because, well, there are many reasons. it's hard to go for intentionally because grabs come out so quickly. And if you know your opponent's going to grab them, it's usually safer to just attack them. I can only ever see it if you're a character who has very slow attacks to come out, but a quick grab, and you're in some sort of like disadvantageous state. But even then, there's so many other tricks or shenanigans you can pull. That's a red trampoline. If one more character falls on that, they're going to be put in a special fall and they will die. Oh, it's already gone. Up smash charge just a little bit too long, not able to get Pac-Man with that. Falling up there from Pac-Man, I can't believe he got an up smash after that. Combos the hydrant into a forward air. I also don't normally see that either. These amiibo will try to combo anything into absolutely anything. It's actually even tougher when you're going against the amiibo as a human player. So all the amiibo have pumped up stats, but you shouldn't be noticing that because every single one of them I've given 2100 in attack and defense, which as of the current patch in Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I say current even though the last one came out 3 or 4 years ago, but it has changed in various points in the Smash Bros. History, is that the attack and defense stats have the same effect. As in, 100 attack is equally as strong as 100 defense. It actually used to not be that way, and that defense was stronger than attack, but then every amiibo tournament ever, everyone would always just pump up their amiibo, any amiibo that allowed stats, of course, spirits to be added to increase the stats of your amiibo. Any of those tournaments, you would just give your amiibo maxed out defensive stats, because it was strictly more valuable than the offense stats. I can kind of understand where the development team was going for, that you can capitalize on offense a lot more than defense. As in, if I have a lot of defense, I still have to figure out how to kill my opponent, whereas if I have a lot of offense, it just sort of happens. However, in an amiibo fight, you don't get to change your playstyle too much. Well, you don't get to choose your playstyle at all to adapt towards any stat changes you might have. You can try to train your amiibo to do so, but you only have so much direction you can make them head in, if that makes sense. Pac-Man making it back. You can actually see he's absolutely slathered in ink. You can only tell if you look at his shoes. Up smash is going to kill Pac-Man off the top. And that brings us to Mewtwo against Daisy. Oh, looks like they're going to be on... Oh, I believe this stage is called Brinstar. It's a Metroid stage, and a couple of the Metroid stages actually have lava, so it gets difficult to tell them apart. Even though I played the games most of them are from. I know Pyrosphere is the easiest one to tell apart, because it has the Ridley boss fight, but now that Ridley's in the game, I don't think we're going to be seeing that stage again. Now, something interesting about this stage... Well, there are many things interesting about this stage. Most stages, actually. The amiibo always seem to have interesting decisions as to which platform they recover to. It's actually killed a lot of them, to be honest. Now, this is a hazards off rule variation, so we're not going to be getting the massive lava plumes or anything. And it looks like it's not bothering Daisy too much. Oh, and she gets killed off the top. Mewtwo seems to have adapted as well. However, if you ever see an amiibo kill themselves on the stage, it's usually because they tried for the wrong ledge. Yep, Daisy going for the absolute lowest ledge. That's a regrab. Mewtwo does not punish it. Whenever you regrab the ledge, you lose the invincibility you would have had. It's one of those higher level things that beginning players may not even know exists. However, if you have a character with a spike or pretty much anything that you can hit someone on the ledge with, it's kind of a free 2-frame, to be honest. Because a 2-frame is you hit someone in the 2 frames, it takes them to grab the ledge if they're not grabbing it from above. Which, I will also say, if you're grabbing it from above, then usually, since you're falling at it from above, you would be vulnerable anyway. So you don't need to two-frame them there, you just normal attack them there. However, a few characters do have up special recoveries that you can angle downwards just enough to not get the two-frame recovery attacks. And it even gets more complicated. I'm pretty sure some characters can, or maybe everyone, it's possible to grab the ledge close enough that it's only one frame to grab it. That's usually pretty hard to do, but I'm pretty sure it is possible. And there might actually even be the perfect spacing that makes it 0 frames. But again, that is really hard to do, especially if an opponent's pressuring you to not grab the ledge. Then you get a lot less... You get to be a lot less choosy about when you grab it. Daisy loves connecting just a couple hits of that down air. And we'll say, Daisy's down air, and Peach's by extension, it is a tough move to get a lot of mileage out of. Now, I'm pretty sure that's on purpose, because if Peach and Daisy had a spiking move with their float mechanic, they would be absolute monsters off stage. So instead they got a multi-hit that kind of sends it a weird, not great to combo angle. There are some low percent combos I'm pretty sure you can do with it. But I guess I'd say it's not one of Daisy's most commonly used moves. Daisy actually grabbed that ledge. Magnet hands to the fullest there. Now, it actually would have been huge for Mewtwo because, well, if you look at the percentage, he's about 100% behind. Oh, nope, he just got 15. Until, yep, Daisy auto-heals. All the amiibo in this tournament do have the auto-heal spirit on. It doesn't affect the matches too much. There is an effect, of course, but since everyone has it, it's mostly fair. Also, because the amiibo have gotten better over time, they can usually kill their opponents faster than they auto-heal. Look back at some of the old videos, though, that was not always the case. And for our next match, we're going to have Ness against Simon. Oh, looks like we're back here. Something interesting about the amiibo this year, the actual physical amiibo, is that they seem to be a lot... Wow, we're... Shield comparing contest much? The amiibo seem to have gathered a lot less dust than previous years. I do have different living arrangements, so I suppose it's possible that there's better vent filters going on. But in previous years, I remember having to copiously dust off every single amiibo. And this year, I don't think I have to at all. Like, I might if I find any dust accumulating, but I haven't, like, in the off-seasons. When Simon's going super low, able to recover. And he traded something. He was able to get back to stage and actually got up through Ness's down smash. Usually that's pretty hard. You have to go for a ledge attack normally. Ness's yo-yo at the ledge is actually a pretty formidable threat. It used to... So the yo-yo has a hitbox that comes out every so many frames. It used to be every 2 frames, which was a problem because it would almost always 2-frame people. So they changed it to come out once every 4 frames. And that does mean that you have about a 50-50 chance of not getting 2-framed by the yo-yo every time you have to try to grab the ledge through it. Simon goes way too far off. Yeah, he's not going to be able to make that back. Ness does, but he does get whipped in the face for his trouble. And he just keeps going up to the next platform, and Simon keeps hitting him for it. And Simon overcommitted, and he did kill Ness out of it. So, I guess... Also, I just remembered this stage is Norfair, not Brinstar. Well, that's embarrassing. I played Super Metroid. Ness is going super low again. He does grab the ledge successfully. The amiibo AIs, and I use AI in the old sense. What are they doing? Alright. Didn't know they could do that on this stage. So I use the amiibo AI in the old sense of the word. It does still fall under the definition of artificial intelligence, but back when the best we had was we have effectively a set of code that lets the computer control... Oh, hey. Really quick kill. Lets the computer control the amiibo characters instead of these days where it's like a language learning model. And that match ended quick enough I don't even get to say the rest of my point. Maybe I'll talk about it in the next match. And for our last match of this video, we're going to have Zero Suit Samus against R.O.B. R.O.B. Japanese with the American skin coloration. Gonna confuse so many people with that. Oh, looks like they're gonna be on big battlefield, so this match will probably take a little bit longer, which at this point might be a good thing just because all these matches have gone really fast this video. I mean, I guess you can probably check to see in the time code how long this match is gonna take. That was a quick stock from R.O.B. All the matches in this video seem to have been going pretty fast. Zero Suit Samus did grab the ledge. Okay. Didn't kill herself. I do feel like this year we've filtered out most of the amiibo who couldn't figure out how to kill their opponents. And R.O.B. JP seems to... Well, yeah, Japanese R.O.B. seems to be going on an absolute tear. Now, neither of these amiibo were amiibo who got retrained last year. Actually, just looked that up. However, I'm pretty sure they've both been retrained before. So ideally that should mean they get the best level of training because they've had training and then they got a mulligan on their weights. I will say that in R.O.B.'s case, because we actually have two R.O.B.s, American R.O.B. and Japanese R.O.B., in case you can tell why they needed a distinguishing name for them, is that the amiibo AI doesn't really know what to do with R.O.B. as a character. Aside from, hilariously, they keep trying to use up air as a combo move. They land it early and then the amiibo's actually pretty good at hitting stuff out of it. Especially when you're against a human who doesn't have any extra spirit stats, when everything, well, effectively has more hit, stun, and damage. And this is actually in stark contrast to professional tournament play, where currently R.O.B. is usually seen as one of the top 3 characters. Which I will say is especially interesting because it's been that way for the most of Smash Ultimate. I actually really enjoy that, even though I don't play professionally in tournaments. But I kind of just fell into R.O.B. in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and he was not great in that game. Like, he could work, but stuff like Arm Rotor was the worst reflector in the game, and as an attack it wasn't really good for much either. In Smash 4, I think R.O.B. got a little better overall, but it was still a very tough environment for him. So after 2 games of not being great, he finally gets his chance in the sun. And I know so many people hate him for it, and that makes me sad. But I'm just glad he gets to have this moment. Although, let me tell you, fighting against R.O.B. can actually be really annoying. It's a lot of projectiles. It's weirdly enough what I love about playing as him. And when I'm against him, for some reason, I don't like it. I can only guess why. Though it is also a shame because one of the other things I liked about R.O.B. is throwing people off stage, chucking projectiles at them, and going for maybe a big spike. But what you'll see a lot of R.O.B.'s going for is the offstage arm rotor, because it has such a high base knockback, and you're so close to the blast zone, you can get a lot of quick and possibly cheap kills with it. So if there was one thing I would nerf about R.O.B., I would say that his aerial arm rotor should get either or a lower knockback or angle it sends opponents. Preferably both. A little bit less knockback, a little less horizontal of an angle. Since R.O.B. has enough recovery, he usually doesn't get punished for going for it offstage, and R.O.B. lands a spike mid-monologue by me! Well, that's going to cut this video a little shorter than I was expecting, but I hope you enjoyed. We've got an entire preseason yet to come. We're not even a significant portion through all the amiibo roster yet. And bye.